My name is Salty, and I'm a motorcycle addict. Welcome to tonight's meeting of degenerates and a few honorable, uncorrupted souls, but that is still up for debate, which would make this political. So, good evening. We are gathered here this evening as an intervention of sorts for Mother Nature, as she's been putting us through the ringer of this March Madness weather. We have snow on the ground again here in Michigan. Seriously, though, I hope everyone is safe and no one has blown away. And if you have a mysterious motorcycle placed on your property, please return it to the proper owner. Mother Nature was drunk when she placed it there. I'm back again with another episode of Chopper Talk. Let off that throttle, pull in the clutch, put on the brakes, sit back and relax while we look at what we conjured up for this episode from within the Badger set, a different type of hole. Don't forget this off-season. Please remember those of us riders suffering through winter with PMS, parked motorcycle syndrome. Our bikes suffer too. I'm still trying to convince my wife motorcycles are good financial investment. She doesn't agree, but I have just conjured up a way that she may be in somewhat of agreement of it into aspects of choppers. I will not forget to unrestrain her after this episode and see if she is more sociable. If not, I'm willing to trade one basket case for another. Maybe you'll have better luck with her than I do. Let's sit back and talk about motorcycles, the lifestyle. It's all about the adventure. Most of all, remember, chopping ain't easy. And if I wanted to ride something easy, I would have called your girlfriend. Without further ado, let's kick it into gear and get chopping. Salty Badger arriving. Let's get chopping with it. Where this episode, Salty Badger's Chopper Talk Tales from the Road, takes us. Tonight's guest is backstage, and I don't want to keep him back there any longer, so we will start this evening off. This special guest edition of Salty Badger's Chopper Talk Tales from the Road is coming to you through StreamYard live on YouTube. Tonight's special guest on Salty Badger's Chopper Talk Tales from the Road is vintage racer and motorcycle enthusiast Pastor Jim O'Brien. Please join us as we learn about his journey on two wheels. Good evening. Thank you for coming on the show tonight and giving us some of your time, Jim.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's great being here tonight. So
I definitely appreciate you coming on. I'm just definitely a smaller channel and appreciate somebody like you coming on here and sharing your story and the things that you do in the motorcycle community. I think are great. So
awesome. Thank you.
I'll jump right in with that first question right off the bat is, when was your first memorable motorcycle experience?
Well, for me, probably when I first started riding, late 90s, early 2000s, I had some great friends and we just would ride. You know, my one buddy it was before we had the cell phones with the maps and everything on it. We had a book here in Tennessee called The Tennessean, and it was just maps from all over the place, all the roads here. And he would photocopy a picture of one of the pages, and we'd be riding and I'd be like, where are we? And he goes, we're somewhere in this area. I'm not sure, but we're almost there. And we would just ride across the state and have a great time together. And just, it kind of was my introduction to what motorcycling was about. And more importantly, friendships and being on the road together. So those were the areas that really influenced me the most starting out. So.
Nice. Do you ever still find yourself taping a map to the gas tank before you take off?
Usually my wife, when she's with me, she's way better at maps than I am. I'm the GPS guy. I hate to admit it, but I am. But she'll have the maps behind us and tell me where to go. You know, like usual, our wives, you know, it's always good. But she'll tell me go this way or that way, so it's good.
Yeah, if I do that too, I'm horrible. I can read a map, but I'm horrible at directions. Like if I'll get lost on the way, but that's part of the ride to me. Is
absolutely, it's part of the adventure, right? So.
And I tell everybody when you ride, I can tell you the route. If I haven't rode it before, we will find the only dirt road in the area.
Yeah, absolutely, that or gravel. I can find them well.
If you got a brand new bike, we're hitting the gravel.
Yeah, exactly.
So true. Who is your biggest influence in regards to motorcycles?
Well, for me, it's changed over the years a little bit, but back when Discovery Channel was going on, the biker build-offs and all that, I was a huge fan of Billy Lane and Indy and Larry. They were my two favorite. I love the style of their bikes and the way that, I don't know, they just did life on the screen in that, it was just something there that I was always intrigued by their bikes and all that. And over the years, Billy and I have become friends, and it's just getting more into his style and learning. It's been really cool. But those guys were definitely my biggest influence. And now that Sons of Speed and being a part of that community, there are so many of the racers that to me, I love their bikes, but their personalities, their attitudes, the way they do life, that just speaks volumes to me. So, Detroit Randy is a huge influence. Nathan, Michael Lang, all those guys. I always tell people, I hope I'm giving back as much as I'm getting out of these events and out of these people because it's the conversations we have that are huge to me. So, but as a builders, definitely Indy and Larry and Billy Lane were the two that really influenced me the most.
Right. And in some of that, with what you just said, that you're definitely giving back a lot to this community. Also, just from what I've seen and following you and looking in there, I see it already. And you're right. Detroit Randy is a huge guy, and Billy Lane in the scene is just he's a huge stamp in not just the chopper scene, but in the motorcycle
Absolutely.
community, and the way that just the kind of man that he is. He's set a good stamp in the community for that.
Yes.
So um, there's another huge influence in how in your life, and how does that fit into the motorcycle community?
Yeah, I am a pastor, so God is number one in my life, and most important on the ways that I walk and do. And I used to be a children's pastor. We were talking about that when I first got into ministry. I was a children's pastor, and I worked at a large church, and I started a riding club for the guys. We had a lot of guys there that rode, and through life and circumstances and things, I ended up leaving that church. And the thing that I found out more than anything, my motorcycle friends hung with me more than anybody else did. And long story, but I kind of walked away from church for a little bit. And God being God, I was like, I'm never going to be a pastor again in life. I'm done with this. And again, I'm sure God laughed when I said that. And my wife and kids went to a church, and I walked in, and I wasn't expecting anything. And a lady sitting ahead of us turned around and said, God gave me a word for you. Can I tell you? And I was, sure, tell me. And she read my mail completely, exactly where I was at, how I was feeling, what I've gone through. And it made me sit back, and I went on a long study of what the early church was and kind of what we were missing here in America, what church has turned into, not everywhere, but at places, and kind of getting back to the roots of what God wanted and what He was telling me. And 2013, my wife and I were driving, and I said, "You're going to think I'm crazy, but we're supposed to start a church, and here's the name, and this is what it's supposed to look like." And she turned to me and she says, I know, I've been waiting on you. And so God had already told her, but she had to wait on me when I was ready. And it took us a year, but September of 2014, we opened up the doors to Journey Biker Church. And we just last September celebrated our 10 years, and just going strong with it. So, but first and foremost, it's God in our lives. He's been faithful. So
Yeah, he works in mysterious ways, and
he does.
he'll always be in the background, and he's always there. You can't turn your back on him. He's there, and you can't change his story.
Nope, not at all. And I tell people he always has a sense of humor because I know in my life I said I'll never do that again. And not only was I a pastor, but we started a church on top of it. So,
Exactly. That's
yeah.
100%. So, along that line, which came first in your life? Was it your passion for motorcycles, or was it being a pastor?
Well, it's funny you even say that because my mom told me when I was a little guy that I was going to be a pastor one day, and I told her she was absolutely crazy. I was never going to be a pastor, and so we had volunteered at church. My wife and I had, on and off, but I got into motorcycles a little bit before I became a pastor, and loved the motorcycles and that, and then it just continued. Got in my blood. I was a musician. I played in Christian bands, and for years, and then the motorcycles just kind of came up, and it just kind of went from there. And then I got ordained when I as a children's pastor, or at the time, but I was already riding at that point. So
Yeah, I mean, and there's definitely room for it in all the biker
yes,
communities. It's huge everywhere. There's room for God everywhere, but in the biker community, he fits in there very well.
absolutely,
So,
absolutely.
um, so I just recently watched one of your Tune Up Tuesday episodes, and how did these
Yes.
come about? Because I know I can always use a little tune up myself. So,
Yeah, it's funny. A couple years ago, I had this whole elaborate plan. I don't know what I was thinking, but I did this long intro video, and I called it Shop Talk with Pastor Jim. And I spent hours editing film and doing all this stuff, and I got absolutely nobody to watch it. And one day I was out in my shop, and it was on a Tuesday, and I said, you know what? I'm going to do Tuesday tune-ups because it's about the time of week that people just need a refresher. And I sat down just like this with a mic and my phone, and I hit record, and I said, welcome to Tuesday Tune-Ups. And it has just built over the last year and a half now. And we were just at Sons of Speed earlier this month, and I can't tell you how many people said, thank you so much for your Tuesday Tune-Ups. It's making a difference in my week. And it's just me being real, and that's what I always want to be. I'm not trying to be uh fake, or I am who I am, and I have my flaws and I have my stuff. So if you're looking for the perfect pastor, I am not it. And my Tuesday tune-ups, I just do a recap of what I did on Sundays at our church, and I just try to be real with people and bring the gospel down to real life. How does this affect, how do we apply this to our lives? So like I said, it's been about a year and a half, and if I don't get it out, usually by 10 o'clock in the morning, I'm getting phone calls and texts. Where's your tune-up? What's going on today? So I try to get them out first thing in the morning now. So
that's a good way to look at it. So
yeah.
the way that you blend being a pastor and motorcycles is a very inspirational thing. What drives that and keeps you in tune with the whole thing?
Yeah, I see so many similarities between the scriptures and what God was teaching and to motorcycles. And I'll say we were at Sons of Speed. I think it was one of the first times we'd went, and somebody blew an engine and didn't have another engine. And one of the other teams said, I have an extra engine. And watching not only those two teams, but several people come along and help put the bike together. And I remember God spoke to me that day and said, this is how the church ought to be, that everybody should be helping. Everybody should be, we're one body in Christ. So why do we, this church can't work with this church, or that one can't work, or our name has to go first? And I just, from my experience in the biker world, what I see from our rides and things, there's no greater community that will give to organizations or to help people in need. It's the biker community. And when we can blend what God wants to do in our lives with what our passion is, it brings it all together in a perfect way. And I personally see so many similarities between the two, that what God is doing and how to blend the motorcycles with what God is trying to teach. And, the scripture tells us there's many parts to the body. And I'm thankful that I got the motorcycle body part, and it just works. And, I try to always keep myself in check and be real and be who I'm supposed to be, who God's called me to be. But more importantly, and, more people tell me this, but, they just tell me that you're real and you're easy to talk with, and I try to always keep it that way. And there's nothing better sitting around a motorcycle just having real talks, so it's good. So
Oh yeah, that's the way that it is. It's better to be real because you don't have if you're being real with people, there's nothing to worry about letting something else out if you're just being who you are.
absolutely. And I think it's the most important thing. And, our motto at our church is life's a journey. Let's ride together. And I tell people all the time, sometimes we're going to get into the trenches and we're all going to get a little dirty, but I guarantee that if we put Christ first, we're all going to get out of it together. So, and it's better to ride with people than it is going by yourself in this life. So,
Yeah. Definitely. That's definitely true.
Yeah.
So was there trials and tribulations with it coming with bringing that along into the motorcycle community?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, too many to. I've told people many times it would be easier that I've thought about quitting being a pastor and just working at McDonald's. You know, making the French fries. It'd be a whole lot easier in life. But yeah, there's always those. You know, anytime you try to bring God and the gospel into anything, you know, it's the motorcycle world is, you know, there's definitely, and I'm not trying to put anybody down or anything, but you got your tough guys in there and you got those who want to walk alone. So trying to blend the two together and, you know, respect is a big issue in the motorcycle community. So learning how to do that and people don't think you're judging them and bringing it together. There's lots of, you know, struggles and challenges that come with it. But again, it really comes back being real. And, you know, I look at Christ and how he did things. And we are doing our Wednesday night Bible study on the book of Revelation. And in chapter 5, the title he calls himself, or the title that he is called from chapter 5 all the way through, is the Lamb. And if God is good enough, if he's okay with being the lamb, to being the sacrifice and walking as he was, because in my life, reading scripture, there's nobody tougher than who Christ was, because he came knowing why he came and still dying on the cross for me. And I know my sins, I know my faults in that. To me, there's nobody tougher than that, than Christ coming and knowing what he was here to do and following through that. I'm okay in the shoes I wear, you know, and I'm okay where God has me. And yes, there's challenges, but you know, you walk through them, you keep going, and you know, full throttle through
Yeah.
them. So
And sometimes probably being a pastor in the biker community, you kind of brought some of that on yourself on the whole bringing the trials and tribulations in, because sometimes you probably do have the guys that don't accept it very well. But if
yeah,
you're real with it,
absolutely. Sometimes, you know, just being the, you know, being a pastor, doing it, you know, those issues come. And other times when you need to talk to people when, you know, they're trying to do the right thing, but yet they're trying to walk that middle line of being cool in the world and still being a Christian, and you know, talking to those people saying, hey, you got to pick a side here. You know, you can't be lukewarm because you're making us all look bad, and you got to take a stand. Either you're with him or you're against him, but pick a side, you know. And you know, that brings on criticism and that at times too, but it's what we're called to do. And you know, we got to be the real deal if we're going to do it. So
yeah, yep, and that's true. I mean, it's cool to like God and cool to love God and follow God, because you can't. The big guys, they do it too, and a lot of times they
amen.
want to talk about it, and everybody's got feelings, and it's okay to talk about that stuff too.
Absolutely,
And so
absolutely.
I've got many friends that I've lost along the way that I wish that would have found their way to talk to somebody or let those feelings out instead of hold that stuff inside. So
Absolutely. And the more that you talk with people and you just get real with them, you know, I hate to keep going back to that, but it's the truth. And it opens up a lot of conversations, and there's a lot of questions about God and things that happen. And it opens the doors and it makes it actually pretty easy after you get talking to people. So it's good.
yeah, it's a lot easier when you keep it real to talk to people and
Yeah.
move along with things. And one of the biggest sayings that I hate, in fact, with JB, I talked about is you can't. That saying where they say "fake it until you make it." You know,
Yeah.
there's really no truth to that, because it'll all come back and get you when you're faking it.
Absolutely,
So,
100%. You know, if you just are who you are, then, you know, it's there's less lies to remember at that point, you know? So you just be who you are, and it is, you know, you get what you get with me. So
right, exactly. So, um, where do you hold your church service, or is it just online?
nope, we have we are very blessed. We have a great relationship with our local Harley dealership here, Harley Davidson of Columbia. And the owner and I are great friends, Ricky Kelly. Huge shout out to him. And we have church right in the showroom. So every Sunday we move the bikes out of the way and we set up our chairs and our sound system, and we have a screen, and we do church at 10 a.m. at 1616 Harley Davidson Boulevard in Columbia, Tennessee, every Sunday, 10 a.m. So we're there, and we have a Wednesday night Bible study that we do there. And you can watch online. We have an app, Journey Biker Church. It's for Apple or Android. And you can see our events and all the stuff coming on there as well. So,
That's awesome. I mean, that's
yeah.
another big way that you're bringing, bringing the Bible into motorcycle community. You're teaching it right there at a Harley dealership. I mean, that's huge, and it
Yeah,
doesn't always need to be a brick and mortar kind of church. It's your temple can be wherever you want to make it. Just
absolutely.
spread the word.
The church is the people. When we get past that, we have people at our church who don't even ride motorcycles, but they like what our church is about and what God's doing there. And, there's a lot of people who've been hurt by the church, unfortunately, but they're okay with coming into the Harley shop. And we're just bringing God, we're just meeting people where they're at. And that's what it's about. So,
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot of truth in the people hurt by the church when they commercialize and get too
yeah.
big and things like that. That's a whole different subject though. So, um,
Yeah.
I
Yes.
I see some amazing bikes in your garage. Is there one of them in there that's your favorite?
Yeah, I do have a few. Probably my 72 shovelhead that Billy Lane built. You can watch it on YouTube. It's the world's ugly shovelhead. It's a three-part series, but I was born in 72, and so I was always kind of looking for a 1972 shovelhead, and I thought it would be great to have. And I joked with Billy, it's like, man, I'd love one of your bikes. I just can't afford them, and this bike came up, and we worked it out, and I brought it home, and it's definitely one of my favorites for sure because it was built by him, which is cool in itself. But it's a 72, and it's I have a love-hate relationship with it. Sometimes when it doesn't want to start, but it's a great bike going down the road, so I enjoy it. So
Yeah, that's like I call choppers doing chopper things. Sometimes
yeah.
they don't have odometers on them because you count the steps when you're walking when it breaks on you.
Yeah, so true, so true. But
So
it's fun.
yeah, is is there someone from your life, living or not, that you would have or would like to share some miles with that you haven't been able to?
That was a really interesting question for me when I got it. And I've thought long and hard about this one. And my parents passed away when they were pretty young. My mom was 49 and my dad was 65, health issues and things. And, my mom, she told me I was going to be a pastor from a little guy on, as I said earlier. And she never got to see, she passed away before I was able to start the church or all that. So, I would love to have those miles with my parents a little bit and just kind of show them, our kids. They never really got to see our kids grow up and that. So to have a few miles and share life with them, that would mean a lot to me. So to take them out for a ride and kind of do life one more time together would be awesome. So yeah.
That's that's a good one. I mean, that's kind of that falls along the lines of mine. I shared miles with my dad when I was younger.
Hmm.
I want to ride. I'd like to ride again with him. I'd like to put some miles down. I did get to put some
Yeah.
miles down with my mom
That's
just before
awesome.
she passed. I put her on the back of my motorcycle, and I still have some of her ashes that I still take with me because she said it was the most joyful time in her life was when I
That's
took her for a
awesome.
ride. And I just let her tell me which way to go, left, right. We
Yeah.
had 10, 15 people with us. And I said, and my uncle was with us, which is her brother. And I said, this ride ends when she says she's done,
That's
and
awesome.
I said, I don't care where we end up. So if you guys just want to flake off and, go where
Yeah.
you want to go because you get sick of it. And you know what? Everybody stuck with us. And we actually picked up some people in some places that we stopped that rode on the rest of the way with us. So it was really nice.
Yeah. That's the biker community right there. It's awesome. It's awesome to see. So that's good.
Yep. So what got you into vintage racing?
Well, for me, I have always loved from the day I started riding. I love the vintage looking bikes. I don't know what. I guess I'm just an old soul, but I thought the vintage bikes were way cooler than the new modern bikes in a lot of ways. And Billy and I were talking, and he had started Sons of Speed, and he's like, "Man, you got to come check this event out. You're going to fall in love with it." And he was absolutely right. I did immediately, and I just love the old bikes racing. I mean, to see these guys on these bikes racing, they're hitting 80, 90 miles per hour, roughly with no brakes. I mean, it's incredible. But to see what these bikes can do, And again, not everybody's riding an old vintage bike. And I had showed you earlier, I have a 1938 Harley on my lift. It's getting all put back together now, but I can't wait to get it out on the road and do some laps on the track and that too. It's going to be a lot of fun. So
Yeah, that's that's crazy. You guys doing that with going around that track with no brakes. I mean,
yeah.
I watched the race footages and stuff right from there, and I've seen it. I haven't been to one in person. I'm actually going to try to come down to Tennessee this year
Oh,
for the
awesome.
race to see that because after watching them, I've watched them on the computer enough, and I'm ready to start venturing out and going
Yeah.
and seeing
There's
some of that
nothing
stuff in
like it.
person.
There's nothing like it when you hear the old bikes and knowing the history and knowing the racers and their bikes and what they do. I mean, it's a passion of love, going around there and doing that, and the uh, just the way they lift each other up too. It's just amazing to be a part of it. So it's an awesome event with amazing people. So
Right, and that's another part of that motorcycle community. I mean, I did flat track
yeah,
racing and raced the flat tracks and things like that, but that vintage racing, I mean, watching those bikes fly around Daytona,
yeah,
that's amazing. And the way that
it's pretty cool.
What Billy's done for it to make it to where it's at now and promote it is
Yeah,
huge.
yeah,
He puts
absolutely.
he's put a lot of heart into that, building that up to what it is.
Yes, absolutely, 100%. And he has a great team behind him working on things. And it takes an army, but him being a pioneer of getting it out there and watching it grow. It's exciting to see. And we were at Bike Week earlier this month, and to see every time we go, there's more and more people in the stands. So it's good to see that people are coming out. They're getting into the vintage stuff, and we got to know our history. We got to know our past, even in motorcycles, and it means a lot that people are going back and learning about these bikes and the people who did raced them and did different things. So it's good. So.
Right. What is your personal favorite part of a build when you're working on a motorcycle?
Well, for me, we're working on when it's running is always the best part of it. But I do pinstriping on the side too. I just enjoy pinstriping, and so I think the paint, getting it up and running is always cool to me. But the paint job and the pinstriping and looking at where it can go, what it can do, and from the racers and different people, I've learned a lot about motorcycles and different lines and that. So I'm learning more and more on what makes a good looking bike compared to what changes that in the different lines. So but I definitely, because I do the pinstriping, I really truly enjoy that part of it. So
Yeah, mine's the electrical part of it and the fabrication, but I do like it when it comes back from paint and you're doing
yeah.
the final assembly because that's when it looks like it and it starts to look like something and you can see what your vision really comes into sight.
Yes, 100%. So good.
So, does your family share your passion for two wheels with you?
Yeah, my wife probably, because I have so many bikes, probably not as much because I have a lot of them now. But our son has a 2013 Fat Boy, but we ride a lot. My daughter loves to ride with me, and we'll do family rides and that too. And I love getting out there. I got my son his first motorcycle when he was 15, and he's been riding along with me. And but yeah, we love the two world life, and it's good. So it's a good world to be in. So
Yeah, it's good to share it with your family. I mean,
absolutely,
100% having your family enjoy a passion like that.
yeah,
It's huge. Being in the shop, working on my son and working on my kids, it's awesome. And
yeah.
watching my 3-year-old granddaughter ride that chop that in the intro with the 3-year-old, that's going into the Dam show in Detroit for
Oh,
Detroit
cool.
with Detroit Randy. We were there all day and she's wanted to go for a ride and she hadn't rode yet. And I set her, the only place I could set her was on the gas tank. And she rode on held on the handlebars and just waving like a princess, like she was in a parade all the way down the road. So
That's awesome. Yeah,
yeah,
when I got the 38, my son, I was kind of shocked. I thought he'd be more into the 72, but when I got the 38, he's really grown to that. I have a 1947 G engine here, flathead, and he wants to build one. So we're going to build that up together. And but he loves the flathead, so I can't wait to start that build with him. And again, it's just time alone with my son, so it's going to be amazing. So it's going to be a lot of fun. So
yeah, great times is times that I spend in the shop with my kids or anybody that comes in. I don't work on any bikes in the shop for people unless
Yeah.
they're in there working on them with me, and I don't do it for money. I do it for the enjoyment of the passion. So
Yeah.
if somebody wants me to work on their bike, they have to work on their bike and learn with me when I'm
That's
doing it.
awesome. I love
You
that.
know,
That's really good.
so because once money gets involved, it's no longer a fun thing for me. It's
Yeah,
just
absolutely.
so.
Very true.
What is your damn I did this moment?
Can you repeat that? I'm sorry, you kind of went out.
What is your damn I did this moment?
Well, just recently, I just got back last week from Poland and Israel. And I gotta say, at this moment, we were down in the Gaza Strip and we went up north to the Golan Heights and to see what's really happening over there. And, this trip came on very quickly for me. It was like 4 weeks to get ready for it. It was a last minute thing that I got invited to. And, to see what the people over there are going through. And, Israel, they're surrounded by enemies. And, their whole life and their motto is it truly is they're going to throw bombs at us. Let's eat, and that's what we were
Right.
told many times because they said if not, we'd be in bomb shelters. And, hearing the gunfire while we were in the Gaza Strip and, talking to the people, it was one of those moments like, I can't believe I'm here right now, but I'm thankful for the opportunity because with what I do, my life as a pastor too, to share what's happening and seeing that. But that's definitely as of recent my moment where it's like, wow, how did this just happen? And I really tried to be a sponge and take it all in and talk to the people and to really get a grasp a little bit. We were there for 10 days of what they go through on a daily basis. So it was a life impacting trip. Like I'm not going to be preaching the same after this trip, and the way that I see things is definitely a lot different than what than before the trip. So
Yeah, those that that whole part of the world. I was over there in the Gulf War and
mm,
been to Jerusalem, and but them people live in war, but haven't they don't mind. It's like they live their life and they go on with their life, knowing every day that could be the last day for them.
yeah, it really is. And thank you for your service, sir, too.
Thank
We're
you.
very grateful for it. And yeah, it truly is. Our guide was telling us, hey, if you hear the sirens go off, you have about 10 seconds and probably six, to be honest with you, to get to one of the bomb shelters. If not, lay down and I'll come find you. And, that's reality that we don't deal with here in the States at all. And this is an everyday thing for them. So it was truly life changing for sure. So.
Definitely is. I'm glad you made it back safe too, because that
Thank you.
is
Me too.
yeah, that's a bad area to be in, especially right
Yeah.
now. I mean, at any
Yeah.
time it's a bad area, but now it's definitely not a good area. And I when you told me you were going there when we talked before, I was like, I knew the area that you're kind of getting into and what was going
Yeah.
on, and I knew it's not a pleasant zone.
Yeah.
So
Not at all. So, so
so what's your best advice for someone trying to get into vintage motorcycle racing?
man, for me, come to the Sons of Speed Racing and get to know the racers and the guys because they're living it, they're doing it, and get to know these people and be willing to take the advice and learn. When I got my 38, I was pretty intimidated by this bike when I first got it. And, Billy sat down with me and showed me things. And then Michael Lang and Nathan Grubbs, they came in and helped me do things, and it just I tried to take it all in and don't come in with an attitude. Don't come in with that you got it all figured out. Come in humble and learn from the guys who've been doing it. Some of these guys have been doing it longer than I've been alive, and take the advice and learn it. As I get into it, it's not as intimidating as it once was. As you start, messing with the nuts and bolts and all that stuff. But take as much as you can and learn and be humble and take the advice and don't blow people off. That would be the biggest thing because there's a plethora of knowledge and skills on the tracks and with these guys, and they're willing to share it. They want to see the sport continue and be a sponge and take it all in. So,
Yes, that's very good advice because there is some very big names that are getting into the vintage racing, and they're very
Yeah.
humble. They're very humble people. If you
Yes.
sit down and you're real with them, they'll give you the time. They'll give you their time to share that passion. That's they know that that passion is going to go away if they don't share it with people.
Absolutely. And again, in my opinion, there's no greater people than the biker community willing to share and give. And you hit the nail on the head that, man, if you will just take some time and listen to them, they will be more than happy to share to watch the sport continue. So it's good.
Right. So what would you say to the younger generation that's getting into the motorcycles to influence them?
Yeah, my biggest thing and my experience, man, don't come in with an attitude. There's a lot of people who want to come in and be the tough guy or whatever, and just be you. Come in, find some friends, ride. You don't have to be the toughest guy. You don't have to be that. Just be you and find some people to ride with and have a good time with it. I've gotten most of my really good friends through the motorcycle community, and we joke, we laugh, we have a great time. But if someone's broken down the side of the road, we're willing to stop and help and do what we can and be that type of person. Because here's what I've learned in my life. I'm 52 now, and there's always somebody tougher out there than you. Always there's that person somewhere who's going to be tougher than you, and you know what? It's just not worth it to me. So I'd rather be the person to be the influencer and try to be real and just do life, man. Keep a smile on my face. And I would anybody coming in young, man, just enjoy the sport, be safe, and don't waste your time trying to be something that maybe you're not, and learn how to give back and give back to the motorcycle community. And to me, that's the biggest thing you can do. So I've learned that, hearing stories about Indy and Larry and, with Billy and the racers, it's all about the giving back. So learn how to do that, and you'll have a bigger smile on your face. So
Right. That's
enjoy it.
100% true. That's 100% true. I tell everybody when we go on rides that I lead a lot of rides because the way that I ride when I do it is I always tell everybody ride your ride,
Yeah.
and I'll ask everybody that's riding with us how long you've been riding, and
Yeah.
I'll pick the most inexperienced rider, and I'll put them either right close to me where I can see them right behind me. My
Yes.
wife rides beside me most of the time, so I don't usually put them there, or one of my kids, but I'll put them where I can constantly see them, and I will
Yeah.
ride as fast as they can comfortably ride, and
Yep.
everybody else can ride the pace that they can ride because I'm not gonna have somebody like behind me or that's riding with me that can't keep up.
Yeah,
And so,
absolutely. And it takes the enjoyment of the sport for those people. And, it's the same thing. We do rides for the church. And I tell everybody, ride your ride. And I'm going to ride to the least experienced rider. And I am okay with that, And, I have my days and times where I can ride my ride. But while we're doing a ride or if we're in a group, I'm going to ride to the least experienced rider and not make them feel bad about it. I'm going to enjoy that ride and watch them learn and grow and what's going on, but it's so important. So,
yeah. So, are you a uh, are you a chopper guy? You like
um, I love the choppers. I love how they look. We auctioned one a few years ago for the church. We auctioned one off and for our Christmas program, Shop with the Biker, and I rode it a lot before we auctioned it off, and it was cool in its own right, but I don't own a chopper, so I kind of give me the vintage stuff and the regular. But I think they're the coolest things to look at. I have one of Billy's in here now, and I love coming out to the shop and just staring at it, and it looks amazing, But it's probably not my everyday ride or what I would do. I would rather jump on a vintage bike. So that's just me, though. So
yeah. That's the way. I mean, I love choppers. I 100% like them. I like to ride them and everything. But I tell you that I like riding a cruiser for
yeah,
more miles if it's because if you have to get somewhere, taking a chopper is not necessarily a good idea because you may not make it there.
yeah,
And
absolutely,
you're going to be walking
yes,
at some point or another, whether you run out of gas because you forgot to put gas in it, or there's multiple
right.
reasons why. Um, so most builders have a platform or a style that they prefer. What is yours? The
For
vintage?
me, it's really my style has changed a little bit as I've learned more. I definitely, again, I love the vintage bikes, but back in the 30s and 40s, it was the big fenders and covering the wheels. And what I'm liking more and more is more of that chop, really, for back fenders to cut them and get them really kind of right over the tire and getting more of that sleeker look right now. And that's kind of the style I'm really headed to. And I know with my 38 here, the fender's a little wide, and we're going to chop that down here in a little bit and just have it kind of low profile right over the tire. But I'm really liking that look and keep it tight all together. Just really, I don't know, it just has a look for me that I like. And so the big, bulky stuff going on right now. So.
Right. One of the questions I always ask is like, would you think the chopper scene's making a comeback, starting to come back around again, or do you think it's just kind of leveled out?
Personally, from what I'm looking at, I think it's kind of I don't see a big chopper group right now at all, but because I'm in the vintage world more, I see more of that, and I see that really coming up to be like the thing right now. More people are
It
into
is.
the vintage, which I'm absolutely loving. I think, in time it may come back a little bit, but it's like you said, it's not because the economy's bad. It's not where it once was. That having a chopper isn't the most practical bike to have if you can only have one bike. And I think in time maybe it'll come back, but I'm personally loving that the vintage world is really blossoming and taking off in a huge way. And again, I'm an old soul, so I love seeing the old stuff to kind of get new life into it again, and people are intrigued by it. So, but I see that kind of taking off more at this point. So,
Yeah, and I mean that's like when I built my son's bike and with him, and I let him pick everything out, and he picked a lot of vintage stuff out and kept it
yeah,
like a very vintage bobber, right down to the tires, and just very.
nice.
I'm like, I was like, when he was doing it, I'm like, that's not going to look good. And when it got done, I looked at it and it went to Cycle Showcase and got unveiled and everywhere. And
That's awesome.
even Detroit Randy came up and he's like, my son being a fourth generation builder, he always he jumped right in talking to us. It was great
That's
the way that we
awesome.
got accepted. So,
Yeah.
um, what events and rides do you have planned for this year where somebody can catch you at?
Yeah, we're really excited. April 26th, we have a program at the church that I mentioned called Shop with the Biker. And what that is, a few years ago, I think it's going to be our 6th year this year. We used to just find a family and buy stuff for them and drop it off, and we did a thing. And my wife came up with this program, the idea of it, Shop with the Biker. So we work with our Veterans Association and we work with the school counselors to find families who are truly in need. And what we do at Christmas time, my wife will contact all the families, and we actually meet the families at a local store, and they go shopping for their kids, and we get to invest in the parents. And part of the joy of Christmas is shopping for your kids. You know what they want better than I do, and so while we invest in the parents, they get to shop for their kids, and we supply Christmas dinner, wrapping paper, the tape. We take care of Christmas for them on these families who've hit some hardships. And April 26th, we have a ride here in Columbia, Tennessee for it. And you can donate online if you can't be here, but 100% of the money goes towards the program to help these families out. And but that's April 26th. We have this ride. We're looking for sponsors and people who want to be involved. And again, it goes for our veterans and our families in need. We'll do a couple more rides this year for that. And then we have Hole and Wall 10 Jam coming up that will be there. And then usually by Oktoberfest, that time we always have some things going on there as well. So
Great. That's awesome. So that's all I have for tonight.
awesome.
I can sit here and talk about motorcycles and builds all night
Yeah.
long. I don't want to. I want to let you get back to your life and get back to your things, and don't want to keep you here all night. So
No
I
worries.
definitely thank you for your time, and appreciate you coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. And keep watching Tuesday Tune Ups. And again, thank you for all you're doing. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you for your time.
No problem. And I'll reach out to you later, and hopefully see you out there somewhere along the way and get things going. So I'm gonna go ahead and let you out, and then I'll wrap up. And I definitely appreciate a great show. And everybody, make sure and go over and check out the Journey Biker Church and check out all his stuff. He's on YouTube, and you're on Instagram and probably all the social media sites, aren't you?
Yes, all the sites. So Journey Biker Church and Jim O'Brien on Facebook and Pastor Jim O'Brien on Instagram. So we're there. Check it out, and love for you to be a part of it. And you can download our app, Journey Biker Church, on Android or Apple, and all of our events and everything's right there. So,
all right. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a great night. Take care.
All right, everybody, please make sure and check out his content. If you like it, do all that fun stuff, like, subscribe, follow, and thank him for coming on the show and doing good luck. And let's get over there and help them out by hitting that like, subscribe if you haven't already done that and you're not already following that. And I thank everybody in the side chat for coming in. I thank you, Evil Rick, for continually sharing that Journey Biker Church link and all the help from everybody coming in here. And with that puts us in there at about 45 minutes. So I'm going to do that thing we do where we hit that funny button that makes things go away right after we run the outro. Everybody have a great night and a safe weekend.
Sweepers, sweepers.